Hi guys and gals, BCK here. Okay, well, I found this in my stuff. Um, crime mystery monsters. I know that I've watched your work. I liked your work, and I think I've even used your work before in doing readings. So I believe that you do really well work. And judging at what I've watched of this video, well, this is awesome work. And I know why you sent it to me. Because I am the watcher. Is a guardian angel. Not a demon, not a bad person, a guardian angel. There's a guardian angel that lives in this house. Now I want you to think about that. And these people that were in this house, this was a test for them. They were asked, they were told, talk to God. Talk to me. And they wouldn't. And that's why they're suffering now. They're in hell on earth because they didn't listen to God. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. But I'm going to rewind this for us. I should have done this before. Shame on you. If I can. Okay. All right.
Today, I want to talk to you.
I have had affinity for those type of houses
unsolved case.
this entire lifetime.
This is New Jersey's most infamous unsolved mystery that they called the Watcher.
I tried to make the house I live in now
look at this beautiful
like this
house. This gray and white.
Look at the fireplaces. 3 fireplaces.
With 3 chimneys and all the beautiful windows. The big porch on the front to sit.
And my bedroom was in the front.
Some lemonade.
That window up there, all that area there was mine.
Holds a secret. It holds a secret.
So you figured out who I am.
For over 100 years.
We've been wanting people to know who I am.
This house was built in 1904. And 3 generations have watched it.
Yes.
And when a new family moved in,
3 generations,
a new watcher took over.
And then you got the wrong person up there. You should have an angel,
and
not a devil.
Watch the house.
See, you put a spin on this, and those people believe this.
Maria
instead of talking to God.
We're getting ready to move into 657 Boulevard.
Because God wanted that young blood in there.
With their 3 children.
The young bloods are angels.
Now, 657 Boulevard was considered the Broaddus's dream home because it was close to Maria's childhood home.
Look at it.
The layout.
Who wouldn't want to live in that house?
Was very spacious. And the location was in the 30th safest city.
I have tried to make this house look like that one.
But 3 days after completing
almost the color Erie was painted.
A letter arrived in their mailbox. It was addressed to the new owner in chunky letters. The typed letter read, "Dearest new neighbor of 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call you with its force within? 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now.
He's had it for like a week.
And as it approaches its 110th birthday,
miserable on
I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming.
Of Christ.
My grandfather watched the house
me.
in the 1920s, and my father watched in in the 1960s.
And they're angels.
It is now my time.
And they're in
Who am
heaven.
There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am
There's
in one.
my clematis.
Look at all the windows
I've got that
you
at
can
my
see
house
from
now.
657 Boulevard.
And the light post.
Maybe I am in one of those. Look out any of the many windows in
That's the light
657
post I'd love
Boulevard
to put in front
and
of here.
all the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I am one. You
This
have
makes
children.
me sad.
I have seen them.
Makes
So
me
far,
sad.
I think they are 3 that I have counted. Do
But
you
there's
need to
nothing
fill
I
the
can
house with the young blood I requested?
There's the grass
Better
along
for
the side
me.
of the house.
Was your old house too small for the growing family? Was it greed to bring me your children?
Does that
Once I know their
sound
names,
vicious
I
to
will
you?
call to them
No.
and draw them to me. The author then
To
signed
God.
as the Watcher
The Watcher, yes.
in a cursive font.
My signature.
If you moved into a home and you received that letter in your mailbox, would it have sent chills down your spine?
Yeah,
Would you
until I
have gone
talked
to the
to
window and
God.
looked out
And then
upon
I'd
your
have found
neighbors'
out what it
houses,
was and what plans he
wondering
had for me and my family.
who was watching your home?
It's not my
Who knew
fault.
about you and your 3 children?
I shouldn't feel bad.
Would you then
Clematis looking good.
get anxious at everyone that passed by in a car
Oh,
or
look
on
at the
foot,
trees, how big they've
wondering
gotten.
if they were the person that sent you this strange and ominous letter?
Wasn't
I know
ominous.
I would. I know that
Well,
I
then
might
you
even
don't
lose
know
sleep.
God, do you?
But after receiving the letter, the Broaddus family reached out to the previous owners of the house, a couple named John and Andrea Woods. The Woods family told the Broaddus family that they had only received 1 letter
I'm going to
from the
speed this
Watcher
up just
in
a
the
little
23 years they had lived at 657 Boulevard. But since it had happened a mere days before the Woods family moved out of the home, the letter was discarded without much concern. So in 23 years, the Woods family only received 1 letter from the Watcher, and it was just days before they actually left the home. After talking to the Woods family, the 2 families went to the police and disclosed about the letters. The police instructed them not to say anything about the Watcher, and that their neighbors were now all deemed suspects.
No, wasn't one of the
2 weeks later, while the Broadduses had still not moved in,
See, if God was
but they were in the
in the
process of
mix,
doing so,
you wouldn't be thinking
a
this.
second letter came to their mailbox. The letter included,
That's why you
more
need to be put
information.
back in the schools.
like their surname, although it
Because
was
apparently
misspelled,
the good, healthy
children's
families
birth
don't
order,
know about him.
and the children's nicknames. It also referenced seeing their daughter
And they're all my children.
painting in an enclosed
Yes,
porch space.
there's an artist in
asking,
there.
Is she the artist in the family?
She's
The
supposed
letter
to be
continued on to say,
famous.
it has been years and years since the young
She
blood
will be,
ruled the
but
hallways of the house.
not in your
Have
way.
you found all of the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement? Or are they too afraid to go down there
Oh,
alone?
yeah.
I would be very
That's where the
afraid if
demons
I were
that came
them.
in to attack us, we
It is
put them
far
down
away from
there.
the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. Will they sleep in the attic? Or will you all sleep on the 2nd floor?
That's why that house
Who
was
has the
watched.
bedroom facing the street?
Because the
I'll
demons were in the
know as
basement.
soon as you move in.
But they can't
It will
come
help
out.
me to know who is in which bedroom. Then I can plan better.
Yeah.
Can you imagine receiving that letter 2 weeks after you received the first one? And now he knows your children's, not only their names, but their nicknames. How would he know that? And what about his questions
How would he
about the
know that?
basement?
Because he's God.
And
Stupid.
about you not being able to hear the children scream if they were down there. Would you be more uneasy now?
That's because I didn't want him
Would
to
you
have the children go down there.
actually be afraid? I know I might.
Well, because
What
you don't
crazy
have God
person
in you.
Is out there watching
It's
my
not
home,
a crazy person. It's a guardian
knowing
angel.
my children's names and their
Stupid.
nicknames, asking about them. What crazy
Don't have to ask
person
about them.
has targeted my family? After receiving that letter, Maria and Derek stopped bringing their children to the house, halting their plans to move in, and causing a third letter to read. Where have you gone?
Yeah.
657 Boulevard is missing you. After a year of investigating, there were still no leads. This put stress on the Broaddus family, causing depression in Derek and post-traumatic stress disorder in Maria.
Well,
Both
that's their
were
problem.
afflicted with paranoia as well. 6 months after the arrival of the letters, the Broadduses decided to sell the house, but could not due to the rumors surrounding 657 Boulevard. The Broadduses also attempted to sue the Woods family for not disclosing the threatening letter they'd received.
They
However,
read it and
the judge threw the case out,
basically threw it
saying
away
there was
and
no evidence
went,
that the
whatever.
Woods had intentionally hid the letter, nor believed it was genuine.
And
that
they
it was a
went about
genuine
their
threat.
business.
This attracted media attention, and the house was soon a subject of a media frenzy.
Took care of
The
it.
Broadduses also considered selling the house to a developer who would be able to tear down the house and split it into 2 plots.
God's not
However,
going to let that
The
happen.
plots would each be 3 feet too small for the mandated size of the neighborhood, and so it could not be done. After the Broadduses appealed the decision to the neighborhood planning board, the judge unanimously rejected the decision.
Yeah.
And so 657 Boulevard remained one
Tear
house.
down that house.
However, it was noticed that in 2018, the same board approved splitting up a different lot near the house, and that the lot required a larger exception than what the Broadduses had requested. So why did the neighborhood planning board reject
Because
the
God
Broadduses'
told them to.
request, but yet approve
That
one
other house
in the
probably looked like
neighborhood
crap.
that required even a larger exception than the Broadduses did?
See, your
The
spin
Christmas
on
of
this is
2015,
it's all wrong.
families
You're
who had
taking this
expressed
out to
anger
be
over
an
the Broadduses'
evil thing
decision
when it's
to try
not.
to split the property
Why do
were
you
subject
humans
to
do
threatening
that?
letters signed friends of the Broaddus family. Then in the spring of 2016, about 2 years after the first letter had arrived, the Broadduses found a family willing to rent the home from them on the condition that they could back out if another letter arrived. Within 2 weeks, the house received that letter addressed to the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife, Maria.
Ooh,
The letter read,
pissed.
657 Boulevard survived your attempted assault and stood strong with its array of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the boulevard followed my orders to a T.
Oh my
They
God,
carried
sounds
out
like me.
their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the Watcher.
Huh?
Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire. Perhaps something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day, after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Loved ones suddenly die. Planes and cars and bicycles
He's
crash.
really getting
Phones
it on
break.
you.
You're despised by the house, and the Watcher won.
Huh?
And although the letter spooked the tenants, they agreed to stay as long as more cameras were installed. And the Broadduses respected that request, and they did so. While investigating a crime with no fingerprints, no digital trail, and no way to place a suspect at the scene of the crime was difficult for police.
Wasn't a crime.
They did manage to put together 3 suspects that they thought might be the Watcher. One was a man that was nicknamed the Gamer due to his pastime of playing violent video games
Oh, please.
as a character called the Watcher. Michael Langford, for his tendency to literally watch his neighbors. And
you know what?
The Broaddus family themselves.
He's not.
Due to suspicion of buyer's remorse and possible movie deals. In October of 2016, a horror movie called The Watcher was released by Lifetime.
Oh my
Despite
God.
a cease and desist order from the Broadduses, and after a bidding battle, Netflix won the rights to the story in 2018.
Whoa.
In July of 2019, 657 Boulevard was finally sold for approximately $959,000. That was about $400,000 less than what the Broadduses had bought it for.
Yeah.
And so far,
when you don't listen to
there
God,
have been no reports of any letters received by the new owners from the Watcher.
Yeah, because they don't have plans for them.
For surveilling the house one night around 11 p.m., our car stopped in front of the house. The car was traced back to a young woman who lived in a town nearby, while her boyfriend lived on the same block of 657 Boulevard. When questioned by police, the woman informed them that her partner was into some really dark video games, possibly including a game where he played a character who was called the Watcher. However, while the gamer agreed to be questioned by police, he never showed up to the interview.
He was innocent.
And police did not have enough evidence to force him to come. And so he was never questioned and he was never examined. The Watcher is Michael Langford, a neighbor of the Broaddus family.
No, he's not. You're slandering his name.
Broaddus, who suspected him after he and the Broadduses attended a neighborhood barbecue after the arrival of the first letter. Langford lived in the house next door with his 90-year-old mother and had done so since the 1960s, the same time the Watcher had claimed that his father had watched 657 Boulevard. Not only that, but since Langford's father had died about 12 years prior to the Broadduses, this could have
well, then he's the guardian angel.
Watcher, and why he said they had been watching for the better part.
But I'm the Watcher. Okay, so I foresee him
to spook neighbors by literally watching them as he would walk through their backyards and look in through their windows.
Oh, that's all made up.
To the positioning of the houses,
that's telephone shit.
Langford would have been able to see into the porch.
An angel wouldn't do that.
That their daughter had been painting. Police questioned Langford after the first letter, but he denied that he knew anything about it.
And he didn't.
And the interview was before the arrival of the second letter. Some believed it would have been foolish to keep sending letters after being interviewed by law enforcement. However, when working with the police, the Broaddus family sent a letter to the Langfords telling them that they would demolish the house in hopes of getting a response from the Watcher. There was no such response. Another piece of evidence casting doubt on the theory was some DNA that they found on one of the letters. With the DNA belonging to a woman, the police considered that Michael's sister, Abby, may have been the Watcher. And the letter's DNA was compared with DNA from a water bottle that Abby had used. But it was not a match. Shortly after the DNA test, authorities stopped investigating the possibility that any of the Langfords could be the Watcher. And they dropped them as a suspect. But the Broadduses were never told why.
Because they're innocent.
And some believe that the Watcher was made up by the Broaddus family themselves.
No.
Who used the terror as a way to get out of financial troubles caused when they bought the house, or to possibly secure a movie deal based on the story. Some of the locals found it suspicious that over the years the Broadduses were able to move from a $315,000 house to a $770,000 house, and finally to a $1.3 million 657 Boulevard with refinanced mortgages. The neighbors thought that the Broadduses were experiencing buyer's remorse with the house, and they had turned to this desperate ploy
maybe they
to get out of the financial troubles.
Buyer's remorse, but they didn't
also
do this
family
about it.
Kept renovating the house Even after deciding they wouldn't move in, major movie studios were attempting to secure the rights of their story, and a large media deal could have been the motivation for creating The Watcher.
No.
The threatening letters that were signed Friends of the Broaddus family turned out to have been written by Derek Broaddus himself, despite
No.
his claims that he had only sent them due to years of frustration and that he had not written the original Watcher letters.
No.
The suspicion turned to Derek Broaddus. However, the psychological trauma experienced by the Broaddus family was a strong contender against that theory.
I've had
along
enough
with
of
the fact
this, I think.
that at the same time of the sending of the first letter, another family on the block had received a letter from the Watcher. The family, similar to the Woodses, had lived in the house for years without problems, and so threw the letter away. So if the Broadduses were attempting to make a movie deal or get out of their house because of buyer's remorse, there would be no reason to send a letter to another house as well. Keanu Reeves had a supernatural thriller movie made in the early 2000s called The Watcher, but it's not the story of the Broaddus family or their Watcher. The Watcher and the Broaddus family is about a very eerie real-life stalker that terrorized that family for many years and still on the loose to this very day. It may look like your average beautiful house in a pleasant New Jersey suburb, but in all actuality, this house has an eerie and unbelievably shocking true crime story.
Only to you.
It's like something straight out of a Stephen King novel.
The
The plot of this real-life horror story
It's not a horror
has
story.
all the hallmarks of a perfect movie. It has a terrorized family, a creepy villain, and a police force that was unable
Kind
to
of sounds
solve
like the Summer
the
Wells
Watcher
case,
dilemma. The
doesn't it?
tale of horror
And
started
guess who's
that
watching
night in
the
June
Summer Wells
2014
case?
when they received
Me.
their first letter. And it continued for years. With the first letter, the family didn't think much of it. And the first letter really didn't seem too creepy to them, even though it may have to you and I. But the letters they received in the aftermath would change their lives forever. The letters were highly disturbing, and they continued to wreak havoc on the lives of the Broadduses and crush their dreams of living happily in what was once described as their dream home. And over the years, there have been many suspects that they
Okay.
believe could have
I'm
been the
done with
mysterious
this.
Watcher.
All right. Bye.